When my phone rang that morning in London, I almost didn't answer. I was halfway through a cup of coffee, working on a client design, when my lawyer's voice crackled through the line. "Harper," he said slowly, "you need to sit down." Something in his tone made my stomach twist. "Your sister sold your grandmother's condo." For a moment, the world went silent. "My sister sold what?" I whispered. "The condo you inherited, Harper. It's already transferred." I dropped my pen. That condo wasn't just property, it was the last piece of Grandma Evelyn I had left. The place where we drank tea, where she told me to chase my dreams, where she said, "Don't let life make you small." And now, my own sister had taken it from me. But what she didn't know was Grandma left behind something that could ruin her. For a long moment, I just sat there motionless, my phone still against my ear, while Douglas's voice carried across the Atlantic. "The sale went through last week," he said evenly. "Your sister, Madeline, filed the paperwork as the executor of your grandmother's estate. The buyer already wired the money." My hand tightened around the phone. "That can't be right," I managed. "Grandma's will clearly named me as the beneficiary. I even have the scanned copy you sent." "That's why I'm calling," he replied, a note of warning in his tone. "The probate file shows inconsistencies. The signature on the transfer document doesn't match the original will. It looks altered." The words hit like ice. I rose from my desk, pacing the narrow flat. Outside, London was waking up traffic, murmuring, light drizzle on the windows, but it all sounded far away. Madeline, my perfect sister. She was 34, married to a banker, mother of 2, the daughter who never disappointed. She lived just 10 minutes from our parents in Tampa and loved being the family's moral compass. Meanwhile, I was the dreamer, the one who had packed 2 suitcases and flown across the ocean to design for a small creative studio. To her, I was the one who ran away from responsibility, and now she'd sold the one thing that tied me home. Douglas's voice broke through my thoughts. "Harper, don't contact her yet. If she forged documents, we'll prove it. But I need to gather evidence before she realizes anyone's watching." "I understand," I said quietly, though the words tasted like ash. When the call ended, I just stood there in my kitchen, staring at the raindrops crawling down the glass. I could still picture Grandma Evelyn's condo, the soft cream walls, the scent of her lavender lotion, the sound of the ceiling fan spinning lazily above us. She used to sit on that balcony overlooking the bay and tell me stories about the years she'd spent traveling after Grandpa died. "Life's too short to live small, Harper," she'd whisper. "Take risks, even if they scare you." That condo had been her sanctuary, and in her will, her final gift to me, the girl who'd followed her advice. Now my sister had erased it like it meant nothing. I opened my email and reread the digital copy of the will. My name was there, bold and clear. Grandma had trusted me to protect her legacy, and I had failed to even know it was gone. By the time the sky turned gray over the Thames, I hadn't slept. My coffee had gone cold hours ago. Somewhere in Florida, my sister was living her picture-perfect life, completely unaware that her mistake had just awakened a storm she couldn't control. Growing up, there were 2 kinds of daughters in our house, the golden one and the complicated one. Madeline was the golden one. She never missed curfew, never got caught sneaking out, and somehow managed to glide through life with a halo of approval from everyone around her. I was the complicated one, the artist, the dreamer, the girl who once painted Grandma's porch swing bright turquoise and got grounded for ruining the aesthetic. Mom would sigh. "Harper, why can't you be more like your sister?" Madeline would just smile, that polished, patient smile. And I'd silently promise myself that one day, I'd leave Tampa and make something of my own. When I finally did, when I got that design internship in London, Grandma was the only one who hugged me without judgment. "Go, Harper," she said, gripping my hands. "Don't apologize for wanting more." Madeline just rolled her eyes. "She'll be back within a year," she told Mom. "Once she realizes dreams don't pay rent." She was wrong. I built a career, a small apartment overlooking the Thames, and a life that was entirely mine. But Madeline never forgave me for leaving because I'd chosen freedom over family control. After Grandma's funeral 6 months ago, Madeline took charge of everything, the service, the flowers, the finances. I'd been grateful at the time, I thought she was being responsible. Now I realized she'd been positioning herself as the sole authority all along. Douglas's email came 2 days after the call, found discrepancies in the estate transfer. The property was listed under your sister's name. The notary stamp appears falsified. I stared at the attached PDF, my heartbeat roaring in my ears. The signature looked eerily similar to Grandma's, but not quite. The loops were tighter, the ink pressure inconsistent. Madeline had always been good at imitation voices, handwriting, even people. I closed my laptop and sank onto the couch. All the years of quiet competition came flooding back, every subtle comment she'd made to undermine me. You always chase things that never last. Maybe if you stayed home, Grandma would have trusted you with more. I thought those were just petty sibling digs, but now they felt like foreshadowing. That night, I couldn't resist. I called Mom. She answered cheerfully, her voice warm through the static. "Sweetheart, how's London?" I hesitated. "Mom, did Madeline ever mention Grandma's condo?" "Yes, actually," she said. "She told us she finally sold it. Such a relief to have that handled, poor thing. She's been working so hard with all the estate paperwork." My grip on the phone tightened. "She told you she sold it?" "Of course. Why?" I swallowed hard. "No reason, just curious." When the call ended, I sat in silence, staring at my reflection in the dark window. Mom didn't know. No one did. To them, Madeline was still the flawless sister who handled everything with grace. But I was beginning to see the cracks in her perfection, the ambition that glittered just beneath her calm exterior. And somewhere inside that ambition, she'd decided that Grandma's condo, and maybe Grandma's love, belonged to her. I opened my laptop again and typed an email to Douglas. "Dig deeper. She's hiding something." As I hit send, I knew one thing for certain. Madeline had always been the sister who could do no wrong. But this time, she'd gone too far. The call came 2 nights later. I was half asleep, curled up on my sofa, when my phone buzzed and her name flashed across the screen. Madeline. For a moment I thought about ignoring it, but curiosity won. I swiped to answer. "Harper, guess what?" Her voice was too cheerful, too rehearsed. I sat up slowly. "What's up?" "I finally sold Grandma's condo," she announced. "Closed the deal last week. You wouldn't believe how much work it was. The realtor, the paperwork, the endless calls." I froze, gripping the phone tighter. "You sold it?" "Yep," she said proudly. "Got a great price, too. $320 cash offer. Honestly, I feel like a weight's been lifted. You know how stressful managing estates can be?" "Maddie," I said slowly. "You sold Grandma's condo?" "Yes, Harper. Why are you repeating yourself?" She laughed lightly. "I'm telling you so, you're not out of the loop. I'm even going to send you something. Think of it as a little thank you." My heart thudded. "A thank you?" "Yeah," she said brightly. $10,000. I know it's not much compared to what I've been handling, but I figured you could use a little boost over there in London. Rent's expensive, right?" There was a roaring in my ears. I could barely hear her. 10,000. From my inheritance. "Maddie," I said carefully, "do you even realize what you've done?" "Oh, come on," she said with a sigh. "Don't start with your drama. You're a designer, not a lawyer. You wouldn't have known how to deal with all that legal nonsense. I took care of it for the family." "For the family," I repeated softly, the words dripping like poison. "Exactly," she said. "And it's not like Grandma would have wanted you burdened with it. You're off chasing your creative dreams, remember? Let me handle the real stuff." I bit my lip hard to stop myself from screaming. "She left that condo to me," I whispered. "What?" She laughed again, the sound sharp this time. "Don't be ridiculous. The estate was divided between us. I'm the one who's been managing everything while you're off drinking espresso and sketching logos." The casual cruelty in her tone made something in me snap. I forced a calmness I didn't feel. "Well, thanks for calling, Maddie. I'll be sure to remember your generosity." "Oh, don't be sarcastic," she said quickly. "I'm doing you a favor. I'll transfer the money next week. Love you, sis." She hung up before I could respond. I sat in the silence, the city lights flickering across the wet glass. My hands were shaking, but not from shock anymore, from rage. She really believed she'd gotten away with it. I opened my phone, replayed the call, and hit record. Douglas had asked for proof. Now I had it, her voice, her confession, her arrogance. As I sent the audio file to him, a strange calm washed over me. Madeline had no idea the line she'd just crossed. She'd made a crucial mistake. 2 days later, the storm hit. I was at work reviewing a logo proposal when my phone buzzed, Douglas's name lighting up the screen. "Harper," he said briskly. "I've filed the fraud complaint. The court has frozen the proceeds from the sale. Your sister's going to find out any moment." I swallowed hard. "And when she does? Expect fireworks." He wasn't exaggerating. That evening, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Madeline, then again, and again. By the 10th call, I picked up. "What the hell did you do?" Her voice was shrill, splintering through the line. "I don't know," I said evenly. "Why don't you tell me? Don't play innocent with me. The bank froze my account this morning, said there's an ongoing investigation. You filed something, didn't you?" "I filed a truth," I said coldly. "The condo was left to me, Madeline. You forged Grandma's will." For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then a bitter laugh. "Oh my God, you've lost it. You think you're some kind of victim? Harper, you're delusional. That condo was part of the family estate. I was managing it, like I've managed everything else you were too irresponsible to handle." "You stole it," I snapped. "Please," she hissed. "You were off in London chasing art projects while I took care of real life. You don't deserve that condo. You don't even deserve to say her name." Something inside me cracked. "Don't you dare talk about Grandma like that. She trusted me. She loved me. She pitied you," Madeline shot back. "That's all." Before I could respond, she hung up. The sound of the dial tone lingered in my ears long after the call ended. I didn't realize I was crying until I felt tears on my hands. Minutes later, my phone rang again. "Mom." I hesitated, then answered. "Harper, what's going on?" Her voice was tight with confusion. "Madeline's hysterical. She said you're trying to ruin her, something about fraud?" "She forged Grandma's documents, Mom." "That's ridiculous," Mom said quickly. "Your sister would never do something like that. She's been handling everything responsibly. You know how emotional you get?" "Mom, stop." My voice broke. "This isn't emotion. It's evidence. Douglas found the fake signature. She admitted it on the phone." There was a long pause. "You recorded your sister?" "Yes," I said. "Because no one ever believes me otherwise." "Harper," Mom said slowly, her disappointment slicing deeper than anger. This obsession with fairness, it's tearing our family apart. Let it go." I stared at the floor. "She took what Grandma left me. And now you're destroying your sister's life?" "She destroyed it herself," I whispered. But she didn't listen. The line went quiet except for her sigh. "I don't know what's happened to you, Harper. You used to be kind." The call ended with a soft click. I sat alone in my flat, the city lights glowing cold beyond the window. My reflection looked unfamiliar, harder, older. Madeline had the family's sympathy. I had the truth. But truth doesn't comfort you when everyone else calls it betrayal. For the first time, I realized what Grandma had meant when she said freedom always costs something. And right now, it was costing me my family. The next few days crawled by like a fever. My phone was quiet for the first time in weeks, too quiet. No calls from Mom, no texts from Madeline, only the occasional message from Douglas, updating me on legal filings. Then, one rainy evening, I received an email that made my heart drop. Subject: "We need to talk." It was from Ethan, Madeline's husband. We'd never been close. He was polite, distant, the kind of man who smiled for Christmas photos but always seemed half somewhere else. Still, something about the subject line felt heavy. Before I could overthink it, my phone buzzed. Ethan calling. I hesitated, then answered. "Ethan?" "Harper?" he said quietly, almost whispering. "I hope I'm not crossing a line by calling you." "You're fine. What's going on?" A pause. Then a deep sigh. "I think you deserve to know the truth." My pulse spiked. "What truth?" "I didn't know at first," he began. "Madeline told me she had to finalize some estate matters and that you were too busy in London to care. I didn't question her. But after everything blew up, after the bank froze our account, I started asking questions." He swallowed hard. "She forged it, Harper. The will. She said no one would ever find out, because you're overseas. She told the realtor that you'd given up your claim. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. You're sure? Yes, he said. I confronted her yesterday. She denied it at first, then she broke down. Said she did it because it wasn't fair that you got the condo when she did all the work. A wave of nausea rolled through me. She stole from me because she was jealous, I whispered. She said she deserved it more, Ethan admitted softly. She used part of the money for a down payment on a new house. The rest's gone. Spent. She can't pay it back. I closed my eyes. And you? He hesitated. I can't defend what she did, but I also can't keep living like this. Lying for her. Watching her unravel. His voice cracked. You're not crazy, Harper. You're right. And if this goes to court, I'll testify. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The sound of rain against the window filled the silence. Thank you, I said finally, my voice small. You don't have to thank me. I should have spoken sooner. When the call ended, I stayed sitting there, staring at the gray London sky. Madeline's perfect little world was starting to crumble, and for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about it. A notification popped up. A new message from Douglas. Buyers have reached out. They're cooperating. Their testimony will help prove fraud. I exhaled slowly. Piece by piece, the truth was aligning. But with truth came something else, a hollow ache. That night, I couldn't stop replaying Ethan's words. She said she did it because it wasn't fair. I thought of every dinner table argument we'd ever had, how Madeline's voice always dripped with superiority. Some of us actually work for what we have, Harper. How many times had I laughed it off? Pretended it didn't sting? Now I realized. She hadn't just envied my choices. She'd hated them. Because they reminded her of everything she'd given up, her freedom, her dreams, herself. I grabbed my old photo album from the shelf. There we were, two sisters on Grandma's balcony, maybe 12 and 16. Madeline, tanned and confident, her arm around me. Me, smaller, grinning wide, holding Grandma's sketchbook. Looking at that photo, I felt something unexpected pity. Madeline had spent her whole life performing perfection, while I'd been learning how to be real. But pity didn't erase what she'd done, and it wouldn't bring Grandma's legacy back. I sent Douglas a message before bed. If Ethan's willing to testify, build the case around it. I want every detail documented. I lay awake until dawn, staring at the ceiling. Madeline's lies had built her a kingdom. Now, it was time to burn it down brick by brick. 3 days later, Douglas called with news that made my pulse quicken. Her lawyer reached out, he said flatly. They want to settle. Settle? I repeated. As in, buy their way out? Essentially. They're offering $150,000 if you withdraw the complaint and let the sale stand. I stared at my laptop screen, the cursor blinking on an empty design draft. $150,000. Half the value of the condo Grandma left me. And still, it felt cheap. Like they were trying to price out my silence. No, I said finally. She doesn't get to commit fraud and then bargain her way to forgiveness. Harper, Douglas said calmly. I agree. But I have to warn you, if we go to trial, it'll be brutal. Her team will argue your grandmother wasn't of sound mind when she signed the will. I laughed bitterly. Grandma was sharper than both of us combined. She was teaching herself Italian at 78. I know that, he said. But they'll spin anything to save face. You'll be cross-examined. Your emails, your visits, your entire relationship with your sister, they'll weaponize it all. Let them try, I said quietly. I'm done being quiet to keep the peace. There was a pause, then a sigh. You sound just like her, you know. Who? Your grandmother. Fierce, stubborn, impossible to intimidate. The compliment made my throat tighten. That night, as rain tapped against the window, I scrolled through old messages from Grandma Evelyn. There was one from 2 years before she died. You remind me of who I used to be, Harper. Brave, curious, a little reckless. If I ever leave you something, know that it's not a handout, it's a promise. A promise. That word hit me like lightning. Madeline hadn't just stolen money. She'd violated a promise between a grandmother and a granddaughter, a bond built on trust and love. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. This time, It was a text from Madeline. I never meant to hurt you. Can we please just move on? I stared at the screen. Move on. Like it was some misunderstanding. Like she hadn't forged signatures, lied to Mom, and dragged Grandma's name through the mud. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard before I finally typed back. We're past the point of moving on. Douglas called later that afternoon. So, what's your decision? I'll settle, I said slowly, but only if it's on my terms. He sounded intrigued. What kind of terms? The kind Grandma would have been proud of. Because this wasn't just about winning, it was about making sure Madeline faced the truth, every word, every lie, every consequence. And when the dust settled, I wanted her to understand that this time, her charm, her lies, and her picture-perfect smile wouldn't save her. Douglas met me on a video call early the next morning. You said you'll settle, he began cautiously, but only on your terms. Let's hear them. I leaned forward, notebook open, my heart pounding with a strange mix of fury and calm. 4 conditions, I said. No exceptions. He raised an eyebrow. Go on. First, I said, Madeline writes a formal apology, signed, dated, and notarized, admitting she forged Grandma's documents and deceived everyone. No vague language about miscommunication. It has to state the truth. Douglas nodded slowly. All right. Second, she reimburses the buyers for every penny of their loss. Moving costs, deposits, temporary housing. Every cent comes from her, not the frozen account. He scribbled notes. Third, she sends a letter to our parents, explaining what she did and why. She doesn't get to keep hiding behind her halo. Douglas looked up. And the fourth? She agrees in writing never to contest Grandma's will or any future inheritance matters again, ever. Douglas let out a long breath. That's poetic, harsh but fair. And if she refuses, then we go to court, I said flatly. And I make sure everyone knows who she really is. He smiled faintly. You sound like someone who's already won. I'm not after revenge, I said. Just the truth. Hours later, Douglas called back. She agreed to your terms. My breath caught. She what? She's signing everything now. The apology, the reimbursements, the letters. Her lawyer said, and I quote, she just wants this nightmare to end. I almost laughed. A nightmare she created. That afternoon, I received the email. Subject: settlement documents. Ends 5. My hands trembled as I opened the PDF. Madeline's handwriting filled the first page neat, controlled, the same script that had once forged Grandma's name. I, Madeline Pierce, acknowledge that I falsified legal documents related to the estate of Evelyn Monroe. I misrepresented ownership of her condominium, deceived my sister Harper, and caused emotional and financial harm to multiple parties. I take full responsibility for my actions and will fulfill all terms of the settlement in good faith. I read it 3 times. For months, she'd made me feel like the reckless one, the selfish one, the black sheep. Now, in her own words, she'd confessed it all. I forwarded the document to Douglas with a single line: justice served. But as I closed my laptop, the victory didn't feel sweet. It felt heavy. Because justice doesn't erase betrayal. It only proves you were right all along. 2 weeks later, Douglas confirmed everything was finalized. The funds from the frozen account had been released, the buyers reimbursed, and the condo's title was officially back under my name. When he asked what I planned to do with it, I didn't hesitate. Sell it, I said. Grandma gave it to me so I could build my life, not cling to the past. The sale closed faster than I expected. The moment the payment hit my account, I stared at the number on the screen, $350,000. But it wasn't the money that made me cry. It was what it represented, Grandma's belief in me. Her quiet way of saying, go live boldly. A month later, I resigned from my agency and opened my own design studio, Evelyn Creative, named after her. It started small, 1 room, 1 desk, 1 client who took a chance on me. But every morning when I unlocked the door, I felt like she was there beside me, smiling that proud little smile she used to give whenever I showed her a new sketch. Then, one afternoon, a package arrived from Florida. The handwriting on the box was familiar Mom's. Inside was a small velvet pouch, and a folded note. "This was your grandmother's. She would want you to have it." I opened the pouch and gasped. Her silver watch. The one she wore every day, polished smooth with time. I turned it over and saw the engraving on the back for the first time. "The world is waiting." I pressed it to my wrist, feeling the faint hum of its ticking against my skin. Madeline never reached out. Through mutual friends, I heard she sold the new house at a loss, separated from Ethan, and moved into a small apartment near our parents'. Her reputation, once flawless, was gone. I didn't hate her. Not anymore. Maybe she'd finally learn what Grandma had taught me, that freedom and integrity are worth more than anything you can steal. Mom called a few months later. Her voice was softer, almost fragile. "Your grandmother would be proud of you," she said. "And so am I." It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was a start. The next morning, I stood by my studio window overlooking the river. The city was waking up, the hum of traffic, the chatter of people chasing their own dreams. I touched the silver watch on my wrist and whispered, "I made it, Grandma." Because in the end, her real gift wasn't a condo or a check. It was the courage to stand up for myself, to fight for what was right even when it meant standing alone. And as the sunlight broke through the clouds, I realized something else. I hadn't just reclaimed what was stolen. I'd reclaimed me.